G'day. Can you hear me? I hope so. I can hear you guys. I can't. I can't hear a thing. Well, welcome to the very, 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 very first of Bounce's chats. So why am I doing this? Well, because in January of 2022, as in January this year, I was coming home from a charity motorcycle ride, and I came off my motorcycle. I ended up in hospital, and twice I ended up in hospital. And the upshot of these, I am now effectively walking on these things. Any great distance, that is. So I don't really have a choice as to working anymore. I have to find something else to do, and it has to involve me talking about things and me sitting down. And how the heck does that all become creative and not? So what I decided to do was to start chatting. Hence, Bounce's Chats, which is the partner channel to Bouncer Upcycles. Now, I will be getting back into the workshop once the insurance company that represents the other person that was involved in the accidents finally deems themselves worthy, or deems me worthy, of actually being assessed and being apportioned blame or not. Because right at the moment, they're saying they're still working it out. So I'm stuck in limbo land. It's 4 months now, stuck in limbo land with no physio, no medication review, other than what my GP can do. And I'm just getting your connections unstable. So we'll continue, and hopefully it will pick itself up. Yes, so my GP now is managing my medication, which is a whole bucket load of morphine, and I'm swallowing Endone now. Like it, for those of you that don't know what Endone is, it's a codeine-based painkiller. I'm swallowing those like Tic Tacs. Those of you that don't know that Tic Tacs are, because this is Australia, little lollies about this big. So you'll be hearing some noise in the background. I'm actually sitting in my partner, my wife Chalky's studio, amongst the plethora of stuff that is our life. That's my phone dinging. That is our life that hasn't moved on since the accident. We had a lot of people come around and help and move things around, so that I could get home from hospital. But since then, I've been walking in the middle of paths of stuff. Nothing's happened. Nothing's been repaired. Nothing's been created. Nothing's really happened at all. So in a desperate attempt to find myself with something else to do, I've decided to start chatting. And today, I thought today was the perfect day and the perfect time to start. Right now, in Australia, as I'm speaking, in fact, it might have just finished. As I'm speaking, there is a very, very, very famous horse race running. It's called the Melbourne Cup. It's running approximately 8 hours drive that way from where I'm talking to you. We speak in driving in this country, not in distance, but in time. It's approximately 800 kilometres. You can work out the miles away from us. There's a very, very famous horse race that used to stop our nation dead. Anybody that was everybody would stop. They'd huddle around a TV. People that don't bet on horse races normally will bet on the Melbourne Cup. But this country's changing. I think this country's changed a lot, and not for the better. Not for the better. So today I want to talk a little bit about mateship. That's my phone ringing, telling me that I have a parcel that's arrived. That might ring, and I'm going to have to answer it, which isn't overly professional, but you get that. I want to talk about mateship, Aussie mateship. Now, those of you in the other part of the world, you won't know what mateship is, but I'll tell you what it is. According to this person on Wikipedia, now, of course, this is not an academic example by any means. This is the free encyclopedia, but it gives you an idea. Firstly, not to be confused with mating. Get that right. Mateship is an Australian cultural idiom that embodies equality, loyalty, and friendship. Russell Ward in The Australian Legend in 1958. Grab it, have a book, have a read of it. It's a little cliche now, we're in 2021, but it gives you an idea. Once saw the concept as central to the Australian people. Mateship, the word, derives from mate, meaning friend, commonly used in Australia as an amicable form of address. It's true. G'day, mate. How you going? That's what we're talking about today. Speaking of g'day, I'm Bouncer, and I'm speaking to you from the top of the world. You know, down under, Australia. Welcome to Bouncer's first chat. Mateship, eh? That term has been at the core of the Australian whitefellas idiom. Not the native people, that's different. The first people of this country. At the core of the pink fellas like me, idiom evidence there's been pink fellas on this land. I'm not related to them. I'm a first generation Australian. I was born here. My parents ran from the Soviets after World War II. So I'm Australian, but I'm not in any way related to what occurred prior to my parents arriving here in 1956. Mateship is a thing that has seen Australians survive World War One, World War Two, the Boer War before that. You could argue that that's where it was formed, the Australian idiom. It is at the core being presented as being the thing that makes Australians Australian. G'day, mate. How you going? I'll stand by you. I'll have your back. I've got your back no matter what. You can trust me to be there just on your shoulder, ready to stand with you when things happen. Yeah. Not so much nowadays. That's my point. Australian mate, the Australian friend, the Australian culture has in the last 20 odd years, in my opinion, undertaken a massive shift of attitude, shift of obsession, shift of personality, for want of a better way of saying it, that I don't particularly like. Rather than us working together, us mucking in and helping somebody else to strive and to succeed, what we have now is another really, really, really good thing and a bad thing about Australia, and it's another 4 words: should be right, mate. Everybody cares for number one first now. Everybody cares for how they're going to get through their day first before they give a consideration about how their behaviour and how their undertakings and how they relate to people is going to affect the other person. Now, I'm guilty of this too to a certain point. I quite frankly don't like it. I don't like the idea that people will turn around and say in a work situation, go, here's a problem. Oh, I've been told to fix the problem. Right. I can't fix the problem, but I'll do my little bit and then I'll pass it over partner B, who will do their little bit. They can't fix the problem. Then they'll pass it on to C and D. And they'll pass it on to C and D and E and F. And it goes round the E and F. And it goes round the around the circle, like past the parcel. And eventually it lands with somebody when the problem isn't fixed. It blows up in their face. And they're the ones that cop it. 9 times out of 10, it ends up them being sacked, dismissed, let go from their employment. Where if the first person had have done the honourable thing and said, hey, let's all work together and see if we can get this repaired, odds on the problem might have been fixed, might well have been fixed way before it had to end up in somebody else's lap. She'll be right, mate. 4 words that have always been the bugbear of my existence on this planet and in this country. It'll be all right. We don't need to worry about it. She'll be right, mate. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. And then when it blows up, oh, well, I didn't see that coming, or that wasn't my problem, or, well, just as long as it didn't blow up in my face. How is that mateship? How is that helping people? You know, it's not, is it? No. And you people that are watching this later on, you may turn around and have a serious think about what it is in your daily life that you do that could be made better by the way you treat other people, that could be made better by the way you treat other people. I know there are situations where, you know, people have excuses, legitimate excuses. You know, everybody's on some sort of medicine at the moment. The medication may not be right. They may not be firing on all cylinders. You know, they may have a serious problem that's causing them to be under stress. But rather than turning around and making an understanding for that, no, everybody just plods through and slams in further and puts the hammer down, puts the hammer down, puts the hammer down, presses the person so much that eventually they've got nothing else to do but to scream and run away. How's that mateship? How's that friendship? How's that consideration of your fellow human being? Now, I'm not a Christian. I was christened a Catholic, mind you. I did the whole Catholic thing, you know, the altar boys and everything else. My priest was our family priest was a lovely guy, and there were no issues at all about any of the problems that the certain other Catholic priests have done in Catholicism. But me, I gave away the Christian faith when I went with my parents to Rome in 1980, and I did the Vatican tour. Now, I don't know if it's still there or not. Somebody might want to tell me in the comments. But I remember doing the Vatican tour and looking at all those beautiful artworks. Now they had, you know, woven tapestries with jewels and stuff, and beautiful statues and all these other things, you know, like, okay, fine. You can argue that they all should be melting down or sold off so that somebody can eat. I get that, understand that, but hey, they're intrinsically artistic and beautiful, so they have a reason. There's an argument also for keeping there, I concur. But there was one thing that I saw, and it was under a bulletproof case on a stand. It had its little plaque here next to it in the 4 or 5 different languages that things are written about in Europe, you know, because not only everybody speaks English, it's, you know, there are other languages. And it said that it was a gift to the Roman Catholic See from some Turkish Muslim who turned Christian way back 12th century. I can't remember what the guy's name was. It was a rough cast block of gold. Okay, it's about that, by about that, by about that. You can see it was a rough cast block of gold. It was cast in clay. Now, those of you that do jewelry know the lost wax concept of clay casting, or, you know, you could make a mold out of clay and pour hot metals in it. Well, that's been done. It's been done on an open fire. You can see that's got pot marks and everything else. It had intrinsically no beauty whatsoever. And yet it sat there under alarm in a museum being guarded 24/7. There was never any talk, presumably, of that noise you can hear behind me. If you can hear it, by the way, is somebody that's helping me clean. I can't even clean our house anymore. That's my mobility problems now. I've managed to get some help from Carers SA, who are a care mob here in South Australia. They've managed to get me some funding to get somebody in to keep our house, well, hygienically as clean as it can be. Anyway, I'm digressing. This block of gold just sat there for hundreds of years. Well, it was the 20th century then, so what, 12th to the 20th century. Okay, work it out. Surely you could sell it and feed, I don't know, Africa? But then this church had the audacity to turn around the next step when I got back from our Europe trip with my mother and my father. And then there was an envelope waiting in the post, which was donate some of your wages so that missionary work for this particular priest that was attached to our congregation somehow, I don't know how, can continue in his work in wherever he was, the Philippines or I can't remember. God knows. Yeah, there we go. And I sat there at the age of 12 and went, that's wrong. So at that point, my Christianity ended. I followed the religion or the natural world religion of my people, my Latvianism. But I'll talk about that another time. What I'm talking about today is the fact that everybody looks out for number one and nobody gives or cares about anybody else. Now, what's added to that is an asinine attack every time somebody wants to actually say something like, hey, how about you pull your finger out of you know where and give somebody a helping hand? Or how about you stop thinking about yourself for a second and start thinking about the bigger picture? Or how about you stop being a narcissistic so and focused on how your poor day has been damaged and actually step back and have a little bit of more of an open mind about what it is to be the other person on the other side of the equation. Maybe everything doesn't revolve around you. Maybe the conspiracy theories that you've built up in your head about what a person's behavior is or what a person's actions have been aren't the paranoid rubbish that you think they are. Have you actually asked the person? Have you actually physically spoken to the person, not read what they've typed on whichever social media app you happen to be using at the time? No, 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 no. Not presume that what they've written to you is automatically the way that you see it. Have you actually turned around and bit your tongue and put your pride in your back pocket for a minute and turn around and said, what do you mean by that? What's going on? Have you tried? I don't think so. Not anymore, because people don't. People just skate over it. And then they instantaneously jump to, oh, you're toxic. Oh, I've got to get you out of my life because you're toxic. I have had so many people that have spoken to me that way, especially over the last few years, where I have turned around and I've changed. I know I've changed. I tell people I've changed. They don't believe me until I turn around and they experience something they don't like about my personality. Or they experience me and the way I interact with people on a very, very bad day. Yeah. Or they hear me talk hear me get passionate because I'm an Eastern European, right? I'm a Nordic Eastern European, okay? Which means, as you can see, I talk with my hands. And when I make a point, I raise my voice. It's not anger, it's just making a point. It's conversation, it's the way my people speak. I've had individuals who will turn around and walk away from things that I've been involved with and from friendships with me because they don't like me anymore because they didn't like the way I apparently spoke to that person or the what my attitude is. Did they actually ask? Did they actually sit there and work out or try and work out why that situation arose? Did they give me or have they given anybody else the benefit of the doubt for 1 second and actually bothered to turn around and place themselves in the other person's position? I'm betting I'll bet 1,000 on it. I will bet a dead set $1,000 on it that they have not done that at all, not once ever, because it's safer for them to continue plodding on their lives, turning around and saying, well, I'm all right. Yes, I agree with everything. I'm the person that's in the right. This person's in the wrong. And I am going to turn around and just push them out of my life because they're toxic to me. You know what's toxic? Toxic is that attitude. That's toxic. Toxic is to turn around and to not give an individual the opportunity to explain why these actions are the way they are. That's toxic. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about defending yourself from a psychological point of view. All right. Now, if you're watching this and you are under care or you have been under care and you proceed to remove yourself from situations because you need to protect yourself in those dynamics, then you're 100% right. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. Because I have to do that too. There are certain situations that I find myself in, especially recently, especially over the last couple of years, where I have to step away when I really don't want to. But I'm fighting my own demons. We all are. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about the person who's using it as an excuse to blame others. I'm talking about that person, and it might be you that are watching this now, that person that sits out there and uses their perception made instantaneously of an individual without having anywhere near the full amount of information or detail. Their perception of that individual, they jump to a conclusion, it's the wrong one, and they run with it. Some of them don't just run with it, they load it into a cannon and they blast it out there, right, for all to see. There are situations, and I'm speaking about myself again, where things have been done, things have been said, things have been written. They have been taken out of context to a ridiculous extent. Moreover, they have been taken in a context that isn't even truthful as to what's written on the paper. And then the rumors start. It's like being back in high school. For those of you that might be watching this that are in high school now, it's like that group of girls or group of boys that are sitting there on the oval under the tree or in the quadrangle or in the quad or wherever they happen to be, and they're gossiping about you. All right? They're not saying anything truthful. They've taken something truthful. They've taken something you've said or something you've done, and they are spinning a massive fable around it with one option and one key and one interest only, and that is to prove to to the people that are reading it, that are looking at it, that are watching it, that are talking to them, that they are better than you, that you're wrong and they're right. Now, some may say that that's what it's like to be an adult. Maybe it is. But Aussie mateship was never that, not when I was growing up in this country. You gave people the benefit of the doubt. We did in this society, in this city, in this state, in this country. People were given the benefit of the doubt. We were not presumed to be the evil so-and-so or the uncontrollable so-and-so straight away. There had to be evidence. There had to be assessment. There had to be honesty. There had to be something that you could hang your hat on that will make you understand that what you were saying was true. Does that make sense? That you could hang your head on? No, it doesn't make sense. So there had to be something. There had to be something. There had to be a continuation of information that, and ultimately, in some cases, even if the person had a reputation that was bad, or a reputation of being a bludger or useless or whatever, it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter to people. Okay, they would turn around and they would take the time to make their own assessment about the individual, not what other people said, not listen to what other people said, not take in what other people waffled about the individual, not believe the stories. If they'd read something that the person has written and it didn't sound quite right, they'd go to the person and say, "Hey, so you wrote this. What does this mean? What do you mean by that?" But it wouldn't be an accusation, and they wouldn't immediately jump down your throat and abuse you and turn around and try and upset your entire lifestyle. They wouldn't go on attack. They'd be a mate. They'd listen. I don't know what happened to that in this country. I really don't. I don't get it. Now, I'm sure you can hear that. That's the vacuum cleaner. That'll be going for the next while. So that's what I wanted to say today. It's going to be a short today. I'm new to this stuff, very new, and my thoughts end up a little bit scattered from time to time. Here's the historical origins of mateship. Most simply, the term mateship describes the bonds of loyalty and equality and feelings of solidarity and fraternity that Australians, usually men, are typically alleged to exhibit. The historical origins of the term are explained by Nick Durrandus Mateship's A Very Australian History in 2015. He cites the work of historian Russell Ward, who argued that a convict-derived ethos of matey anti-authoritarianism embedded itself in the Australian psyche from the beginning. In other words, this country, the white history of this country, was established by a group of criminals who hated authority, didn't want to play with authority anymore, and stuck the finger up to the man. That's a part of what Australian is, Australians were, Australians should be. The problem is, for some odd reason, they all started wanting to be the man. They all started to turn into Americans. I'm sorry. No. And see, that's something else I say quite a lot. Americans are lovely people. I have an ex-American. She's now an Australian citizen. I have an ex-American in my family, and she's lovely. Americans are fantastic. As individuals or in small groups, you're great. You put you guys together in a city, and it gets scary. You put you guys together in a country, and you guys exemplify the absolute best and worst of what the human race are. Like at the moment, right at the moment, there's a potential global war going on. Well, it has the start of one in Ukraine. And the Americans are supporting the Ukrainians along with a whole bucket load of other people, including us. We're sending them our Bushmaster armored vehicles, and that's great. And they're supporting the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are fighting. They're fighting for their life, fighting for their lands, they're fighting for their history, they're fighting for their culture, they're fighting for their right to be who they are and where they want to be. It's pretty mateshipy, isn't it? Equality, loyalty, and friendship. Hmm. The original obligations of mateship could be compared to codes amongst thieves. It likely emerged out of a shared fear of authority. Men who betrayed their companions or accepted authority over them would become dogs for their betrayal. So what are you? You a dog or you a mate? Or do you keep changing hats? Depending on what it is that you think you need to do to survive in this world. Seriously, have a think about that. Do you have reverence for the group you're with and the people you're around? Do you give them the level of understanding and acceptance that they really deserve? Or are you the dog who stomps in with their attitude, your attitude, my attitude, my attitude, my attitude, their attitude ends up being on the floor? Which one are you? In the past, I've had to be both. I've had to be the dog. I don't like being the dog. But sometimes some people just can't accept the fact, or can't see the fact, or can't understand, or won't see the fact that what they're doing is damaging the situation that we find ourselves in. And they need to be told. They need to be told. They need to be told. They need to be honestly told. They need to be definitely honestly told that it's time they pulled their head in, or it's time they moved on, or it's time they resigned, time they handed it over to some new blood, or it's time they be quiet and listen for once. Listen for once. Maybe you're not always right. Maybe the person that's making the point at that meeting, impassionately making the point, might have something to say that's right. Hmm? Maybe your opinion, while it matters, isn't the thing that you really need to say right now. Or maybe because you don't like arguments, you should keep your mouth shut rather than turning around and infecting and stopping discussions from happening. Think about the other person. Think about the other side of the argument. Think about what your behavior is going to do down the track in the future by stopping something from happening, or by interjecting for something and stopping it happening, or turning around and spreading lies about somebody or something that happened. Have a think about what the future is going to hold for that. Have a think about what you're damaging by doing that. Sure, fine. Maybe personally you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve, but isn't the overall message better, stronger, is still worth supporting rather than you being a shredder personality, rather than you breaking it down or you turning around and forcing it's your opinion or somebody else's opinion? I'm a passionate man and I'll tell you my opinion. I'll tell you my opinion time and time and time again. And the thing is, the way that you get into the conversation with me to stand up and to say your piece, not run away and hide, not run away from the argument because the argument isn't an argument. It's just a discussion of impassioned voices. It's not an argument. Just because voice levels go up doesn't mean we're arguing. We're making a point. But if you're not prepared to turn around and to state your point and explain it, and if the other side, if you're not prepared to listen to what that person has to say, then you're not much of a mate, and you're most definitely part of the problem. Here's a military context for you about mateship. Mateship is regarded as an Australian mateship is regarded as an Australian military virtue. For instance, the Australian Army Recruit Training Centre lists the soldierly virtue. For instance, the Australian Army Recruit Training Centre lists the soldierly qualities it seeks to install, including a will to win, dedication to duty, honour, compassion, and honesty, mateship and teamwork, loyalty, and physical and moral courage. Wow. I could put a little Ukrainian flag next to that right now, couldn't I? That's what's going on over there in the middle of Europe. And there's a whole other side of that argument too, but that's for another stream. It's not for now. Other side of that argument too, but that's for another stream. It's not for now. The word mate bloomed during World War One when many trenches were built because of the machine gun. Many trenches were built which often stretched miles across ground. The words diggers and mate gained the same meaning and became interchangeable. Now that's something else we called around. We got a lot of people that have forgotten that one too. Digger. Digger. Now, for those of you that are historians, you may want to take a look at the failed Gallipoli campaign of World War One, where our illustrious, well, the UK's illustrious World War II victorious leader Winston Churchill decided that he was going to send a bucket load of Antipodeans off to the little Straits of Gallipoli and see if we can't hit the Turks from the underbelly, the soft underbelly. I don't know, but I think those of you that are military historians, you'll follow me. Churchill used to have a little thing for the soft underbelly. It was the soft underbelly of the crocodile in World War II. It was all coming up through the Gallipoli Straits. Well, in World War One, it was Australia's turn. Now, we were formed into a country in there because we hooked in there for 7.5 months, dug a bucket load of trenches, and never got to the top of the hill. A lot of young Australian men died. I didn't achieve anything. So they say militarily. We achieved something, though, as a nation at that point. I think we achieved that little something that at the moment the Ukrainians have got buckets of, and that is the fact that they're backing each other up, they're supporting each other, they're helping each other, they're making sure that their friend or mate won't fall. Isn't it interesting that in the depths of war, when your life is on the line, the first thing you do isn't turn around and wonder how you can protect yourself. The first thing you do, those that survive, is wonder how you can protect the guy to your right or the girl to your right or the lady or guy to your left because they're doing the same thing to protect you. That's mateship. And I say that Australians have not been in a combat situation for so long that we have forgotten. We, the contemporary younger people, I'm not that young, I'm 54, the contemporary younger generation, at the moment of Australians, don't know that it's more important to make sure that the person on your right and the person on your left is supported and you move up together. That's how you succeed. They think that you succeed by busting it yourself and by putting yourself first all the time. You're wrong. That's not the way you succeed. That's the way you ultimately end up with no friends and no support and no help and people that don't care. Now, you'll get away and you'll guilt people into doing things for you. Sure, no worries. And I'm certain, and other people will turn around and they'll come and go. But if you don't care for the one that's next to you, don't care for those that are around you, how can you care for yourself? You need to care for yourself. You need to give yourself a solid backbone. But if you can trust the people that are there to your left and to your right, then caring for yourself is easier. And if those people that are around you are so internally focused on themselves and don't care about you, what are you doing? They're not mates. They're not friends. They're around you because they are wanting to be with you for what they get from you, not what they're prepared to give to you. That's a great big difference. A huge difference. And that's another difference that people have forgotten nowadays. So many people interact with other people and call them friends, not because of friendship, but because the person that they're interacting with, is an integral part of their own success or perceived success, because it's not really success. Because if you're not solid in yourself and you're not here in the core, solid at what you do, then you can't be successful. It's an ivory tower. Yeah, it's an ivory tower. You're stuck up there all on your own, but it has no foundation. Not really. And eventually you'll fall. And when you fall like that, and you've climbed so high, or you've climbed yourself so far up, you think that you're just invincible and all of those people are going to be there to have you back. And when you actually fall, they all step aside and they just let you crash to the ground. Because they're not there to catch you. They don't care. They don't care about you. They care about what you can give them. And when you're falling, you can't give anybody anything. That's where you need to pray somebody's going to step out, step up, step towards, and help you slow down in your fall. But if they're so hung up on what they perceive you are, or what they perceive that you've done to them, they're too busy focusing on themselves. They don't give a rat's whatever about you. And then you find yourself standing there, having fallen pretty far and being right at the bottom of where you were, and trying to work out how to climb up. And you look around and there's nobody there. All those supposed mates, they're gone. And you look around at the people that you had the same passion with at the start, and they're not doing anything that is working towards that goal. They may be there, but nothing's happening because they're focused on themselves. They're not focused on the mission or on the goal or on what they wanted to do. I said that's not a group. It's not a club. It's not an army. It's not a command. It's not a platoon. It's nothing. Okay. They're not friends. They're people that are wearing the same clothing. They're not mates. I had a lot of mates. I had some mates that I thought were honest mates. And I had some of those mates that were my mates because they needed me to be where I was so that they could get what they needed. I had some of them too. I've had lifelong mates who have walked away. Not told me why. Some have tried to come back and have a conversation, but they don't want to continue the conversation. This is the other thing. This is the other thing. The last thing that I'm going to talk about in this little chat, because we're at 45 minutes at the moment already. Last thing I'm going to talk about is if you want to turn around and reach out to somebody who you were friends with and you wanted to be friends with, and you can't work out why they don't want to talk to you. It's not that they don't want to talk to you. It's maybe that they're tired of initializing the conversation. Because I am. I'm tired of initializing the conversation. I'm tired of having to sit there and make the decisions about what's going to happen next, where this is going to go, where that's going to go. I'm tired. I got injured in January, which makes me even more tired. I've got other health issues that I'll tell you about later that makes you more tired. All I ever wanted from my mates was for them to step up and take the lead. Make a suggestion, do something. Work out how we can move together as a group and actually do it. Don't sit there and blow hot air and talk about doing it and then turn around and then come back and having done something else or being involved with somebody else. If you can't do it, then say so. If you can't say it, then say it with actions. All right? Don't think you owe anybody anything that's positive if you're not doing what you said you're going to do, because you're not helping anybody. You're not helping me. You're not helping your friends. You're not helping your family. You're helping anybody. Right? Be honest with yourself. That's step one. Be honest with yourself. If you can't do it, say so. All right? And if the person says that you're a beep, whatever, for saying so, then turn around and tell them they don't know what they're talking about. So then turn around and tell them they don't know what they're talking about, because they don't know what they're talking about. Because if they turn around and abuse you for being honest, then they're as weak as that paper tiger that they're presenting to the world. They're cowards, they're weaklings, and they're most definitely not worth being a mate. Because a true mate won't do that. A true mate will turn around and tell you what's going on and tell you why they've made a decision, why they stepped away from you. A true mate will turn around and keep telling you stuff. A true mate will turn around and keep at you and keep saying, no, you're wrong. And this is why you're wrong. Boom, boom, boom. One reason, second reason, third reason, fourth reason. Yeah. That's true mateship. Okay. And if you don't want to hear it, fine. Tell them you don't want to hear it. But don't accept the fact that they don't want to hear it if you're telling them that. Because they're friends, because they care about them. You care about them, don't you? Right? So why are you giving up? So why aren't you turning around and saying, hey, listen, I didn't particularly like the way that you did that or you said that, right? Rather than sitting there scuttling away like the little cockroaches the world seems to think everybody is now. Say your piece. Say your piece. Say your piece. If you've got a problem with somebody, tell them. If you've got a problem with something that's going on, say so. And if somebody doesn't like what you've said, then turn around and tell them why you think so. But don't turn around and sit there and say, oh, no, it's all right, and just be quiet and let it stew. Because that person that you're speaking to takes that as a victory. The narcissist takes that as I've got him under my thumb or under her thumb. The honest person turns around and says, well, if they're not telling me what's going on, I'm just going to keep on going with what I'm doing because obviously they don't have a problem with it because they haven't said anything. And then you're sitting there going, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I totally disagree with this, but I'm not going to say anything because they don't listen to me. Well, have you said anything? Have you actually turned around and opened your mouth and said, no, I disagree, and this is why? And if they turn around and they interject, well, then close them down. Well, then close them down and say, no, you've had your say. Now let me have my say. And don't give up. Because some of us on this planet, we're pretty passionate and we'll keep talking and talking and talking and talking like I am on this first live stream. Because it's what we do. Because everything has to keep on going, doesn't it? The show must go on. That's the key with me. That's the key with Bouncer. If everybody ever wants to know what is the core with Bouncer, what drives me, is that statement. The show must go on. The gig, the presenting, the event, whatever it is, it has to happen. It's going to happen. And the only way it doesn't happen is over my dead body. That's my attitude. Or my physically incapable of doing it body. That's my attitude. Now, if you want to turn around and step in and ride with that sort of personality, then you're going to ride with them on a wave. It's going to be fantastic. But you have to be able to step up and turn around and tell that sort of personality, my sort of personality, that they're wrong or they're heading in the wrong direction, right? You can't be cowering in a corner because you're going to get left behind. You've got to be that person's mate. You've got to be that person's friend. You've got to be the person that is there on their right or on their left as you're moving forward together. Because if you're not, that person's left out there on their own. And when they're out there on their own long enough, and when they're out there on their own long enough, they fall, they break, they give up and they start losing faith in them. They give up and they start losing faith in themselves. And then they start losing faith in the society around them. And then they start losing faith in their ability to keep going and to get the show done. And when that sort of personality loses that sort of faith, and there's nothing for them to hang on to go in with, that's when they check out. Right there. That's the point. When they turn around and they've been left aside, they've been cast aside, or they've been spat at, they've been abused, they've been lied to, they've been manipulated, they have had everything else done to them. And when they have nobody that they can hang their hat on, that they can turn around and grab and ask for help, they have had everything else done to them. And when they have nobody that they can hang their hat on, that they can turn around and grab and ask for help to be their mate, that's when they don't want to be around anymore. Have a think about that. Have a think about your society. Have a think about your group of friends, your acquaintances. Are you the sort of person that might have friends you can count on one hand and 50 million acquaintances? I'm sort of there now. I don't like it much. I wish I had more friends. I wish I had my old friends back. But for some odd reason, they decide they don't want to be friends with me anymore. Okay. I fight with that every day. I fight with the realization that I've upset people every day. I don't know what happened to this society in my country, in Australia. Is it the same with you? I don't know what happened to our mateship, to our care for others, our joking friendship, our reverence for authority that we do together, our fun. Whatever happened to that? It's 1st of November 2022, and I want my country back. I want my mates back. I want it back the way it was. I'd like to hope that it will come back someday. But honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. Right. That's it. First one done. I'm probably going to try and speak every day. Now, I'm moving my laptop, which has got the camera in it, to be able to end the stream, because I couldn't do that because the camera was sitting right in front of the screen behind it. So I'm going to try and talk tomorrow. Tomorrow's topic will be something that I'll probably post up later on. I don't know. I'm pretty drained right now. I've been waffling on for about an hour. That's waffling on. This is Bouncers Chats. I'll chat about anything. Make a comment. Give me something to talk about. Cheers. I'll catch you later.